The most dangerous retirement plan is often the one that looks perfect on paper, not because the numbers are too small, but because the numbers create false confidence. A man can save for 40 years, invest responsibly, retire on schedule, and still lose. Not from greed, not from panic, not from laziness. He loses because the market declines at the wrong time. That is sequence risk, a silent mechanism that destroys retirement plans without changing the long-term average return. And that is what makes it so lethal. Most people think retirement failure comes from saving too little. Sometimes it does, but often the deeper threat is structural. The plan assumes time will rescue mistakes. Retirement removes time from the equation. That is the contradiction no glossy brochure wants to discuss. While you are working, a market decline is painful, but it is often survivable. You still have wages. You are still adding capital. You are feeding the compounding engine while prices are lower. In retirement, the direction reverses. You are no longer feeding the machine. The machine is feeding you. And if the market drops while you are withdrawing, the damage compounds in reverse. That is the hidden mechanism. You are not just losing market value, you are removing shares from a falling portfolio. Those shares never return. Future recoveries now grow from a smaller base. This is why average returns can be a beautiful lie. Two retirees can experience the exact same average market return. One dies wealthy. The other runs out of money. Not because the market was different, but because the order was different. That is the trap. People are taught to worship averages. Retirement lives in sequences. Let us make this painfully simple. Imagine two retirees with $1 million each. Both withdraw the same annual income. Both earn the same average return over 20 years. The first gets strong returns early and weak returns later. The second gets weak returns early and strong returns later. On paper, the average is identical. In life, the outcomes are not even close. The first retiree may remain secure. The second may spend old age negotiating with fear. This is not bad luck in the emotional sense. It is mechanical failure. And retirement plans are often built like fragile machines. They assume stable returns, stable inflation, stable emotions, stable spending. Life delivers none of those things. So let us name the first reality. Trap 1. Withdrawals turn volatility into permanent damage. A market loss during accumulation is a temporary wound. A market loss during distribution can become an amputation, because every withdrawal locks in a piece of that decline. You sell low, not once, but repeatedly. The portfolio becomes a leaking reservoir, and the leak widens exactly when the storm arrives. Mechanism 2. Inflation makes the withdrawals heavier over time. Most retirees do not spend the same number forever. Food rises, insurance rises, utilities rise, medical costs rise. The paycheck is gone, but the bills still climb. So the portfolio must do more with less. That is not a plan. That is a tightening cage. Truth 3. The first decade of retirement carries abnormal power. People obsess over how much they need at 65. They should obsess over what happens from 65 to 75. That window often determines the rest of the story. A strong opening decade builds margin. A weak opening decade can force permanent retreat. Vacations shrink. Gifts disappear. Repairs get delayed. Then comes the deeper cost, psychological exhaustion. Because sequence risk is not just a mathematical trap. It becomes an emotional tax. Every purchase starts to feel like a negotiation with the future. Every market headline feels personal. This is how retirees get manipulated by noise. The financial industry sells certainty where only probabilities exist. And when reality breaks the script, people blame themselves. They should blame the illusion. Retirement is not a finish line. It is a capital distribution phase under uncertainty. That language sounds colder, but it is more honest. And honesty is more useful than comfort. Now here is where disciplined allocators think differently. They do not ask, what return can I expect? They ask, what conditions can break me? That is a different mindset entirely. One seeks optimism. The other seeks durability. Rule 4. Build the plan around survival, not elegance. A beautiful spreadsheet is worthless if one bad sequence can shatter it. A retirement plan should behave like a fortress, not a crystal chandelier. So what does that mean in practice? First, reduce forced selling. Cash reserves are not laziness. They are shock absorbers. A modest cash buffer can buy time during market declines. Time is not just time. Time is recovery capacity. Second, keep spending flexible where possible. Rigid withdrawals can turn a manageable downturn into portfolio trauma. Discipline is not deprivation. It is selective pressure relief. Third, separate essential expenses from aspirational expenses. Housing, food, healthcare, and core utilities deserve higher certainty. Luxury should float. Necessity should be defended. Fourth, respect diversification, but do not worship complexity. Many portfolios are over-engineered and under-protected. Too many moving parts create confusion when clarity is most needed. Fifth, consider income sources that reduce pressure on the portfolio. Social security timing, pensions, annuity layers, part-time work, rental income. Not because these options are glamorous, but because pressure kills capital. Margin is a financial asset. So is emotional control. And both are usually absent from mainstream retirement conversations. This channel exists to correct that. If you value calm, structured thinking about money, subscribe. Now, let us go one level deeper. The real purpose of a retirement plan is not maximum upside. It is reliable dignity. That changes every decision. You stop asking how rich the simulation says you might become. You start asking how many shocks your life can absorb. That is the identity shift. You are no longer chasing perfect returns. You are engineering resilience. You are no longer a hopeful consumer of financial products. You are an operator protecting a private balance sheet. That is how wealth survives old age. Not through prediction, through preparation. Because sequence risk does not care how disciplined you were at 45. It does not care how elegant your Monte Carlo chart looked. It only cares whether your structure can survive a bad opening sequence. That is the test. That has always been the test. A perfect retirement plan is not the one with the highest projected return. It is the one that keeps paying you when reality turns hostile. So protect the downside first. Reduce the leaks. Preserve your options. Build margin before you need it. Because retirement is not won by optimism. It is won by surviving the sequence.